Hi, I'm Joe Finsternis, and tonight I'm going to be talking to you about a movie called Willow Creek. This is the newest movie directed by Bobcat Goldthwait, who, for you younger audience members out there, this guy was a comedian who was very popular back in the 80s and early 90s, and unfortunately I don't know much about his resume before he became a director. I remember that he was the shooter from Scrooged, and he was in a couple episodes of Tales from the Crypt as well. There was one where he played this up-and-coming ventriloquist, and he was also involved in my all-time favorite episode, The Third Pig, in which he did the voice of the big bad wolf. But yeah, before this, the only movie that he's directed, I believe, has been God Bless America, which I thought was a pretty damn decent film. It was very amusing, and I just love the concept of it. So when I found out that he was, coming out with a much darker horror movie, my interest was certainly piqued. This is in the found footage subgenre, and it follows this couple, Kelly and Jim, who are going through the town of Willow Creek and setting out to explore the woods by the town in search of Bigfoot. Now, as far as found footage movies go, I would say that this is the most realistic feeling one that I have seen. I mean, with a lot of found footage movies out there, as realistic as they do try to be, they do normally have, at least one money shot thrown in. Like, an example would be in Cloverfield, where the Statue of Liberty, lost her head. But this movie doesn't really give you any of that. It honestly did not feel like I was watching a movie. It felt like I was watching some literal found footage. There are a lot of random cuts in the movie as Kelly and Jim are filming everything that they're experiencing. There are a lot of awkward moments between the characters, and the dialogue between them feels very natural. The two main characters are very likable and funny, and I just love their interactions with one another. Now, the realism does have a slight downside to it. As they're interviewing some of the local townsfolk in this movie, it does get pretty damn boring at parts. Especially with this one guy who was the owner. I don't know if he was the owner, but he was working at this bookstore, and I honestly think that his scene could have been cut out of the movie and the film would have been unaffected as a whole. There was one really effective story, however, where an old man was talking about this encounter that he had involving his dog. I thought that story was extremely effective, and things start to get a little intense and, considerably more interesting as some of the locals start getting angry with Kelly and Jim. They want to keep them from exploring these woods, and they get pretty damn defensive about it. So there is a little bit of a level of horror when it comes to the human element in this movie. And, during the last 30 minutes or so, the director was able to do so very little and accomplish so much with it. There were these two individual shots, focusing on the same exact area, which went on for minutes on end, and I never got bored watching it because I was so on the edge of my seat. My heart was in my throat, and I was there in the main character's shoes, feeling that sense of dread and upset that they were going through. And I love the way that they made Bigfoot sound in this movie. He does make some angry monster noises, as can be expected, but most of the vocal sounds that he makes in this film sound extremely human, and it's very, unsettling and creepy to listen to. And I would say that this is certainly the perfect film to watch in the dark. Now, if you're the type of moviegoer who, whenever you see a monster movie, you need to see the monster throw down and rip people to shreds and, appear a few different times throughout the film, then, that's fine. I'm not gonna, judge you for it, but if that's the case, then Willow Creek isn't necessarily the movie for you. And, as similar as the setup is to the Blair Witch Project, I would say that as far as quality goes, Willow Creek compares more to the original Paranormal Activity, where the characters are much more interesting to follow. There's a lot less nothing going on, and for that, the fear feels so much more effective when it starts to take place. And if you're curious about how often the monster appears in this movie, let me put it this way. In Paranormal Activity, you may recall that you at least got to see the demon's footprints. Also, as far as this compares to Mr. Goldthwait's last directorial film, I think that Willow Creek succeeds at its job more. As a horror movie, this scared me more than God Bless America made me laugh as a comedy movie. And both of these films have certainly put Bobcat Goldthwait on the map as a director to be watched. And, if you were able to go with the setup for Blair Witch Project or Paranormal Activity, then Willow Creek comes very highly recommended. Anyway, that's all I've got to say about this film. I hope y'all have a good one.